make that deal. How about you? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright folks, so this is huge. And of course, for some reason, this massive piece of news is flying under the radar because the mainstream media is focused more on creating fake scandals. But after 4 years of foreign policy blunder, taking massive L's across the globe and causing total chaos, we've got an administration actually delivering results. And this, you might say, is a policy masterstroke. No more simply being content with endless war and endless spending. No more blank checks. No, an actual deal that gets things done. A deal that brings America wealth, deters Russian aggression, and sets Ukraine up for long-term survival and economic independence. Of course, with a slight reliance. Folks, this is what leadership and deal-making looks like. Donald Trump just secured a minerals and energy agreement with Ukraine. It's absolutely massive, and let me tell you exactly why that is. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so take a look at this.
Trump administration signing an agreement with Ukraine giving the U.S. access to its rare earth minerals.
The president prized himself as a deal maker, and all the trade deals have been getting a lot of the attention, or those potential trade deals. As you guys mentioned, there was a new deal signed just yesterday between the U.S. and Ukraine that'll give the U.S. a future control of the revenue share that Ukraine is getting from its natural resources. Now, this deal, which we just talked about, was signed on Wednesday, will give the Trump administration a stake in Ukraine's future success as the U.S. continues to seek an end to Russia's war against Ukraine.
This is President Trump's deal that he's done trade deals, tax deals, and now we've got this Ukrainian American economic partnership deal, and it's win-win. It is a way to show that there's no daylight between Ukraine and U.S. as President Trump presses to end this horrible war.
We are hearing from Ukrainian officials, including the country's economic minister, who says the fund is a 50-50 structure and that its national assets will be protected. The Ukrainian government says the deal is also meant to send a signal that it could be a global partner, not just to the U.S., but to many others for decades to come. Meantime, the White House under growing pressure to reach new trade deals amid the latest GDP news, which shows the U.S. economy shrank in the first quarter. Overnight, the president vowed many deals can be reached relatively soon.
This is huge. This is a win across the board. First off, this deal just completely changed the dynamic in Russia and Ukraine. With American companies now partnered with Ukraine to extract critical minerals and develop energy infrastructure, there's now going to be U.S. assets on the ground. And you know what that means. Now Russia has to think twice before launching an attack. Because let's say, hypothetically, they hit one of those sites. Well, no longer are they just engaging with Ukraine anymore. They're risking a direct conflict with the United States. I mean, you want to talk deterrence? That's the ultimate deterrence. And now, of course, the left-wing media has already found a way to cry about this. The claim is that Donald Trump's an imperialist. He's taking advantage of poor Ukraine. And I've also seen some news segments showing some Ukrainian citizens themselves also complaining.
As the US and Kiev hammer out a mineral deal, Ukrainians from the mining heartlands have a message for Washington. The resources are theirs. Alexander is a resident of Kryvyi Rih, a city near iron ore mining and processing plants.
From what I can see, they only want to take, not to give.
US President Donald Trump has put pressure on Kiev and threatened to stop the flow of military supplies, unless the US gets some payback for the billions of dollars it spends in aid.
Nothing has been agreed yet. They would like to, but you cannot have dealings with that ginger guy. He's not that kind of person.
The deal is sensitive for Ukraine. About 40 miles north is the town of Shovty or Yellow Waters, where uranium and iron ore were mined for decades. Ukraine has a proud history of mining coal and iron ore and hopes to exploit seams of increasingly sought-after rare earths. Shovty resident Nina Fasenko.
I hope that the people who are involved in this think about Ukraine and its people. Because our mineral riches belong to the people.
The US is taking our minerals. They belong to us. Yeah, no kidding. But let's be perfectly real here. In all likelihood, without American intervention and American dollars, Russia might have seized all your minerals by now. They've already seized good chunks of your territory, where a lot of the critical minerals are located. This idea that America's owed nothing seems a little bit unappreciative, I might say, after the American taxpayer funded $350 billion to protect you from the Russian invasion.
You got the deal with Zelensky on the minerals. That means the United States is going to have a presence in Ukraine. Is that going to inhibit Putin, do you think?
Well, it could, but the reason I did that is that we're in for $350 billion or close to it, whereas Europe is only in it for $100 billion.
All right, so we get some of our investment back. All right,
I felt very foolish. You know, they loaned the money, and Biden handed them $350 billion in between cash and military equipment. 350, we got nothing, and I felt very foolish being the head of a country where Europe gets their money back, and it's a much smaller amount, and we get nothing. So I went to them and said, look, we got to get rare earth. They have great rare earth, meaning certain minerals, materials. They have things that a lot of places don't have. It's a big asset that they have. And we made a deal today where we get, much more in theory than the $350 billion. But I wanted to be protected. I didn't want to be out there and look foolish. And this is not my war. This is Biden's war. I'm just trying to stop it.
The United States essentially bankrolled your survival. And now, well, it's time to pay back the favor a little bit. And this idea that this is exploitation is utterly ridiculous. This is an economic alliance. America's bringing money, technology, market access. Ukraine's got the land, the labor, and the resources. And so you have a strategic partnership and a set up profit-sharing program. It's not some colonial cash grab. No, it's a win-win situation. Both countries will win. Ukraine's going to get rich because they're going to take a cut of everything, and America is going to get access to strategic minerals that are desperately needed to turn away from this heavy reliance on China when it comes to these precious minerals. It's an absolute win-win.
Thanks to President Trump's tireless efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
Ukraine's going to see massive investment, jobs, an expansion of energy infrastructure in their nation. Both nations will see an economic boom, and the American taxpayer gets paid back tenfold. I mean, it's potentially a heck of a deal. Meanwhile, what do we see with Joe Biden? What seemed to be an endless war with no end in sight, and just the plundering of American resources and wealth down a friggin' pit of despair never to be seen again, writing blank check after blank check with no actual plan, no diplomacy, I mean nothing, just a handshake, and smiles for the camera so the media could write about how brave you are, but they were absolute complete cowards. Now we have a president making deals, dealing in diplomacy. I think it's way too early to be taking a massive victory lap as if all of this is going to culminate into peace in the region or something great. Time will tell, we'll have to see, but it's certainly better than doing absolutely nothing and essentially throwing money down a pit. I'll take this over what we saw over the last 4 years, that's for sure. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.